In ASEAN Newsroom, live phone-in today, we have Mr. Paul Gamble, the managing partner at the MBMG International. Welcome, Mr. Paul Gamble.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very good, thanks.
Okay. Mr. Gamble, how will the July 3rd election affect the Thai economy?
Well, it's an interesting question. I think it falls into two parts. One is what the effect on the economy will be in the run-up to the election, and the second one is what will actually happen after the election itself. Now, in terms of the run-up, we're already starting to see some interesting signs affecting the stock market as obviously one barometer of the economy. And I think what we'd point out there is that if you look at the regional equity indices over the last year or so, they've all been very highly correlated. If you look at the SET versus the Manila versus Jakarta versus the Kuala Lumpur index, they've all tended to move in much the same direction, with actually Bangkok being the best performing index out of the four. But if you look over just the last month or so, then we've seen much more volatility in the SET than in the other three indices. So I think you'd have to say that that's already an indication that the stock markets are getting very nervous in the run-up to the election. And I think that what happens after the election could be an even bigger story. And I think it's likely to impact the entire economy. I think it's potentially going to impact the currency, and I think it's also likely to carry on affecting the stock market. A piece of research that we did previously showed that the kind of political paralysis in Thailand from 2004 onwards probably cost the economy something like 30 to 40 billion a year by the end of that period. So we're very concerned that unless there is a very clear, stable government coming out of this, we could be in another situation where politics does actually start to have an effect on the economy.
And stocks have rallied prior to the announcement of this upcoming poll. And what are your scenarios on Thai equities?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you say that again? It's quite a bad line.
Stocks have rallied prior to the announcement of this upcoming poll. And what are your scenarios on Thai equities?
I'm really sorry. It's such a bad connection. I really couldn't make that out. I'm sorry. Could you try again?
Okay, let me try that again. Stocks have rallied prior to the announcement of this upcoming poll. So what are your scenarios on the Thai equities?
So what are our scenarios? Well, I guess
That's right.
I guess if we see a strong, stable government, then coming out of the election results, then we would, and a period of stability following that. I think that's the key things. Markets look for very clear results, and they look for stability. So I don't think markets are particularly political in general. I don't think they necessarily favor any one particular side over another, but I think what they do look for is very clear signs of stability and decisiveness. So if there's a clear result and if there's a clear mandate for power, and if that power is able to be implemented without any of the kind of problems that we've seen in Thailand over the last few years, then I think that's going to be a very positive indicator for the economy and for the currency and for the stock market. I think what we would say right now is that although we've seen a lot of volatility, a lot more volatility in the stock market and in the currency compared to their regional peers over the last month or so, it's still not really reflected in the price. We saw a gap of something about 5% open up between movements in the Thai market and the other three markets over the last month, but that's pretty well all contracted away now, and so there isn't really any value in the Thai stock market. Any discount that was being applied there for political risk seems to have dissipated over the last week or so. So I think that what we see is over the next few weeks, this discount of people are applying a political risk discount. We see that maybe coming back and going away, and we think that those are buying and selling opportunities for traders, very short-term opportunities.
Okay.
We see that when there's no risk like now, maybe it's a good time to be selling, and when the risk comes on, it's a good time to buy.
Very quickly on the currency, how are the baht and the other assets affected?
Well, currency is always a very clear barometer of political risk, and what we saw back in the 2004 period, 2004-2008 period, was that baht did tend to lag at times some of the regional currencies, and I think that again what we're seeing right now is we have seen volatility in the baht versus the regional peers over the last month or so. Right now, it's at the kind of level where it's not really showing any great discount for political risk. So you'd have to say that you probably would prefer to have ringgit or rupiah. Or even Philippine peso right now at today's levels. But if that gap opens up, if you start to see some political risk premium discount come in there, you might be favouring baht again. And again, once the election is out of the way and once the results are clear, that's a really good time to try to understand whether the election results are going to have an ongoing long-term impact on the baht, or whether this is just something that's going to affect us until July the 3rd.
All right, great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you very much.